Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Marcus Sawyerr, founder and CEO of EQ App. Marcus, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Epi. Thanks for having me. Excited to have the discussion.
Well, great to have you, Marcus, and truly looking forward to this conversation. You're leading a really unique company. Give us an overview of EQ App and your journey starting EQ App.
Yeah, absolutely. So EQ is really focused on helping the recruitment industry evolve in the age of AI. So it's all about saving time and looking at new ways that you can leverage AI to achieve things that were not possible previously. So we provide an AI infrastructure for recruiters and the recruiting industry where they can get access to our models. I started on this journey because I led digital transformation and innovation for the largest recruitment company in the world, which was the Adecco Group, where I was president for 6 years, buying, building, and investing in HR tech companies. And I just saw that at that time, I'd done a talk for LinkedIn, and I made some predictions around AI models and being able to leverage AI models in recruiting. And I thought, if I don't build something, I'm a hypocrite. So I need to build something so the industry can leverage it. So that was a lot about my journey, but it started off in a very manual way. So we looked at every aspect of the recruitment process and said, where are there opportunities and gaps to use AI so we can get recruiters closer to having better conversations with their clients and their candidates and using the AI to remove all the administration process. And then the one big thing I think is really important is we have a very much of inclusive slant on AI. So a lot of people talk about AI being biased and not being able to leverage AI for recruiting for that purpose. And we've deliberately made sure that inclusion is in the DNA of AI as a representation of the market that you're recruiting for.
Yeah, that's amazing. Marcus, I read your purpose as a company is to empower people to thrive by unlocking opportunities through inclusion and innovation. Can you expand on this for us?
Yeah, so for me, I was fortunate enough to have some opportunities to sit at the tables where I saw Fortune 500 executives making big decisions and people moving into opportunities that basically create a lot of wealth. And I felt like not many people have that lens. And my access to that was purely by working up the ladder. And I think that there's some really amazing people that, if you understand their competencies and traits, that just don't have access to these opportunities. So I wanted to make that more deliberate instead of serendipitous, where you just meet someone and you connect with someone and they happen to be your mentor and you happen to grow. How do we make an environment where there's more access to more opportunity and we democratize the access? So that's always been something that's been in the back of my mind. And just like one example I'll give, so I've got family members, my little sisters. One of them is leading people for DeepMind in Google. My other sister is now at Oxford doing philosophy. Another sister's doing acting. So I always think about my family and they're my younger sisters. How do you give people access and the information that they need in order to move forward by providing an environment where you can thrive? Because obviously we know about nature and nurture, but I think a lot of it is around having the nurturing and information in order for you to get to the next step. So this is why we really drive innovation and inclusion in one.
Yeah. Now, Marcus, how do you define your leadership style and what principles guide your decision making?
It's a good question. It probably depends on who you're asking and what time in my career, what my leadership style would be. It's funny, as I mentioned, my sister, she always asked me that question. I was like,
Ah,
Dee, what are you talking about? What do you mean by this? Um, and what I've come to realize is my style is very much focused on being transparent and honest as much as you can in the scenario and giving people access to the information they need to do their jobs well. So I always think about helping people fulfill their potential and providing that environment in order to do that. I played sports, played soccer, I had a scholarship, done all that. And I think about teams Some teams, people operate really well in because of the leadership, because of the manager, because of the team dynamics. So if I'm bringing someone into our team, how do I create an environment for you to thrive? How do I create an environment to get the information you need to be successful? And I think it boils down to three things that people generally want when they work at a company. I think that they want a purpose that they can gravitate towards and drive to. I think people want respect for the work that they're doing, and they want to be compensated fairly for the work they do. So I try and create that environment that allows people to do that medium and long term.
Yeah, that's super important, and I can completely see that. Coming from your background and knowing the value of bringing these high performance teams and bringing this type of a collaboration is very important. As someone experienced in this kind of innovation, what do you believe are the most important factors of fostering a culture of innovation within an organization? Obviously, you led some big company in recruiting. How that truly brought help you shape what you doing here at the EQ app?
Yeah, so I think that everything starts with the purpose. Like, why are you doing this? Like,
Mm.
clearly understanding and defining why you're doing this, not just doing it for doing its sake. And then it goes into the problem. What are you trying to solve? And then once you reverse engineer that, and I have this framework which I call the 10 Ps. We actually had something at my old company which is called the 4 Ps, and I expanded it out to 10. And from that, every time I do a business plan, every time I do a project, it should all be able to fit on one sheet, and you should be able to communicate that clearly. So I think as you're driving innovation, the question is, why are we doing this? Do we want to increase profits? Do we want to be more efficient? Um, do we have a competitor that we need to think about in a slightly different way and leapfrog the market? Depending on that, the problem that you're solving, who you're solving it for, so the customers that you're solving it for. So that goes into the prospects, profit, how do you make money, the product, what are you actually going to sell, the partners, who you're going to be collaborating with, the process, how you're going to get it to market, the performance, how are you going to measure that, and then also the productivity. So I always think of it in this framework, and these 10 Ps are interchangeable. I was speaking to someone the other day who was actually trying to develop a business or a film actually in the acting world. And I said, you can use these same 10 Ps, but change the ones for you that make sense. So if you want to create something new, you have to have a process or a mental model on how you think about it, but you might lean more into production. How are you going to produce this film versus process, or how you're going to deliver the business? So for me, it's always starting with the purpose. The second thing is the problem, and then working back into all of the rest of the P's that you need to deliver.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
10 piece you said, right?
10 P's.
Yeah, that's
10 Ps.
amazing.
Anybody knows me in my business or ask me, anybody I've ever spoke to, I always talk about the 10 Ps.
Is that
And
is that public? Is that public or your
yeah, I can send, yeah, I'll share it and send it actually. And the other part of the P is it's for any project. So it's your plan for your project. And and I've just found that for some reason P's seem to have enough that you need in a business on one page in order to deliver it. And what I really like to see when people come back and say, hey, I used these 6, but I modified the last 4 for me, and it was a really good start for me to get it down. So I always think about that with innovation, like thinking about that purpose and the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, share with us that link. Well, I'd love to put that on our YouTube
Yeah,
when we
absolutely.
upload this video. Now, Marcus, what role does data play in driving growth at your company, and how do you use this type of data to inform your strategic decisions?
Yeah. So the thing about recruitment at large, I think about our industry, or even many industries that have been around for a long time.
Mm.
Uh, Typically, if there's a human involved, it's an art and a science. But the science is the underlying foundation, and this is where data comes in. And I think about, for us, we're building AI, but I think about data as the raw materials. So if you're a farmer, the seeds that you're sowing, those are like the raw materials that you have, the compounds that come out of the earth. but you want to take data and transform it into information. And that information can help you discern insights. And then you take the information to insights, and you take those insights and you try and create knowledge. The knowledge is really what allows you to perform whatever task you want to perform to outbeat your competitors or people that you work with over and over again. And then ultimately, once you have this knowledge and you do that, you generate wisdom and you become wise. So I think data is the underlying foundation for information, insights, knowledge, and then wisdom. So it's key to us. But the art and the science of it, especially in recruiting, is you want to take this data that you turn into information to make a baseline prediction or hypothesis. So you use that data in order to do that. Then when you're actually in the field and you're speaking to people, you take that art form and get the feeling and the sense of what's going on in the business, and you add that on top. So I don't think it's data or quote unquote gut feel. I think it's a combination of the two and how you marry those two in your processes. So it's absolutely key for us.
Yeah. Now, Marcus, what resources do you rely on to continuously improve your leadership skills, right? It's you're always learning, you're always innovating. Where do you go to guide to improve your leadership skills?
If I look at it now, I've got a ton of books on my shelf that I'm looking at.
Okay.
And I think that there are some core principles in kind of just general old school philosophies and books that provide guiding principles. So it could be there's a book called Pati Hotep, which is apparently the oldest book in the world. And there's just some guiding principles on how you operate, how you work in certain circumstances. So things like that, I'm always interested in reading a lot of papers as well around the market. So research papers that are done, data science papers in particular. A friend of mine, Jakub Sawyerr, he was a founder of one of the leading recruiting technologies in our industry. And now he's moved on to collate research papers on his platform,
Hmm.
specifically around data science and engineering. Um, and I'll share that as well, the link to that. So I look out for that quite a lot. The other
Okay.
thing as well is conversations, yeah, with people that you have and taking notes. So every day, every morning, one of the things that I do is I'll spend 30 minutes reflecting on what happened on the day before, write that out, and then I'll go back to this book that I create and look and see if there's any patterns. I try and get information from many different places, but where I derive the insights is by reflecting. And
Nice.
I think if you don't spend that time to reflect, because the information's coming in so fast, you miss out on maybe some of the nuggets.
Yeah, and also, I mean, these days we're drowning in information, so you need wisdom to discern and make sure that you're not all over, right? There's a lot of things are coming up so fast today. The information comes, but then what type of information is, why now, who is writing it? All this kind of question we need to ask to verify it. I love like how um, one reporter asked Ronald Reagan, President Ronald Reagan, he said like, "Mr. President, do you trust Mr. Gorbachev?" This was back then. He said, "Yes, I trust him, but I still need to
Yeah,
verify." So today we need to verify so much. It's crazy, right?
yeah. I think one of the big currencies moving forward is not actually monetary, but it's trust. To your point, because the more that you can trust that information or the sources, you have a good foundation to build from. Last year, I went on a diet. I went on an information diet. So I was looking at the calories I was consuming through social media, the calories I was consuming through people that I was connected with, and just done an audit internally and said, if I was eating this, it would probably make me sick. So I need to figure out like where
I
I'm
love that.
getting these sources of information in order
I
to
love it.
organize it.
I love
So
it.
yeah,
Marcus, what does bold mean to you? The word bold.
the first thing that springs to mind is being brave. And I think there's a misconception of being brave where you put yourself into a situation where you may not survival win, like jumping off of a cliff or doing something like that. But I think being bold and being brave is taking the first step, and then being a pioneer to see something that maybe others may not have seen, and you lead the path. So as you're bold, at this point, you don't necessarily have many supporters, but you have an idea and a vision based on some reason or insights that you know, and then people start to rally around that. And that's really what I think being bold is, because a lot of the time there are different types of leaders. Some are kind of first movers, then you've got the second movers, and then you've got the ones that might come into a company later just to scale it once the ship is steady. But I
Yeah,
think the bold leaders are taking the first steps.
nice. Marcus, I wish we have a much longer conversation. This is a short format, bold talks that we have here. Always be bold. Congrats on all your achievements. Thank you for joining me in this bold talk series and looking forward to seeing you again soon. Until next time, take care, be great, and be bold always.
You too, Epi. Thanks for the time. Really appreciate it.
Take care, my friend.